In about 90 minutes time, we are going to know who is our T6 TC champion here as we go racing at Zandvoort for the season finale, and what should hopefully be a race that we will remember for quite some time here in the T6 community. My name is Darragh, Thacker, joined this week by Ashley Denman for what should hopefully be an enthralling championship finale. Ashley, we have got two drivers who are going to be fighting this one out tooth and nail. They've been so close for so long in this championship. It's going to come down to the final lap or two, isn't it?
I think it definitely will do. It's definitely going to come down to the second race, I feel, because qualifying to set the grid first of all, they should be pretty close to each other and that sort of aspect. So it's going to come down to how they can navigate the traffic in the second one. I say traffic, the other drivers as their rivals on circuit. But yeah, two drivers, 2 points, 2 races, but only one championship. So let's see who can take it this evening.
Yeah, and let's have a quick little look at those contenders in the championship before we get our teeth too far into the racing tonight. And it is going to be between Daniel Hurlock and Chris Grevitt. 211, 209 points respectively, 2 points between them. And with, upwards of 43 points to be won tonight, that could swing either way. And we could see a swing right at the end of the race. Vlad Tokarev is still, theoretically in title contention, mathematically at least. He is a little ways further back, 37 points in fact, so he would need something, nothing short of a miracle. Alessandro Cappa and Callum Wilson, they're going to be fighting it out inside the top 5 to see who can place in the top 4, and we'll see if Alan Axon, who was coming into tonight P6 in the championship, can weasel his way into the top 5. Carlo Messina is the 7th driver over that 100-point threshold. Will he be joined tonight by anybody else? Well, Luke Mitchell, David Zewis and Jordan Osborne will hope to be doing that, but they have got to pick up quite a few points in the final couple of races tonight, and they've been pretty consistent in the championship, which is why they find themselves inside the top 10. Zandvoort, though, a circuit that I think we've come to know a little bit better over the last few years. It's been redeveloped by Formula One management as they look to make it a track to go racing at more often. 2.6 miles is the length. It's not the longest circuit that we've had so far this season, but the lap time is around that 100-second, with Chris Grevitt currently having what is the provisional fastest lap. Tarzan at turn 1 is where we're going to see most of the overtakes take place, but we can see it all the way through at turn number 6. Difficult place to go side by side, but in these touring cars it can become a little bit easier. Very varying lines through on this circuit. Not, though, down at the stadium section. The Hans Erschbach down at turn 10, and then we've got the final couple of corners. Of course, banked that little bit more in recent years, and it's getting that run off that final corner to get you towards turn 1. Beautiful weather as always, Ashley, but again, this is a circuit where, in bigger machinery, it can be a little bit more difficult to overtake, but in these touring cars, everything is going to be possible.
I think with technology moving forward, these cars are actually perfect for this kind of circuit now, with the size, the sort of power distribution they can put out. So you are able to go side by side, and it is such a lovely circuit built in the little sandy dunes just outside of the capital of the Netherlands. I'm trying to remember the name here, but cannot think of it for the life of me. There you go. Thank you, Amsterdam. But yeah, it sort of follows the contours of the earth that it is built on as well. So it's not one of those sort of flat circuits that you see modern day, sort of the likes of modern day circuits, I should say. It is a bit more of a classic. If you go off, you're going to be punished for it, as I feel you should in racing.
Absolutely. A little bit more old school in that aspect, despite the newer renovations to the circuit, and that's kind of what's going to keep us really interested throughout the racing tonight. Of course, our regular 50 minutes worth of racing split into 2 25-minute races, and a reverse grid that will be anywhere between the top 6 to the top 12. We'll only find out in the closing stages of race number 1. Daniel Hurlock is looking to put himself towards the top of the tree in qualifying. P4 only at the moment. Chris Grevitt's in second. Needs to find at least a 10th to overtake his championship rival, and he finds far more than that. Goes for the top of the timesheets. He's got a 10th and a half in hand. He's now laid it down to Tokarev and to Grevitt to try and beat it, as Grevitt does. 39.4. He goes ahead of his championship rival, and that 1 point for pole could be crucial. Is Tokarev going to steal it off of him, though?
It certainly looked like he was about to, but no. 19 hundredths of a second. That is as close as you want to get, really. But Grevitt, of course, still on the good side of that time at the moment and picking up that extra point. This is sort of of course, it's down to points, Darragh. Of course, you want to just beat your rival outright pace on the circuit, but I think qualifying is a bit of a psychological one. If you can get that pole position, and particularly if you're getting that extra point, it's going to help. But you've won half the battle, I think, in the psychological game, because it is a circuit that's tricky to overtake at. Like you say, turn 1, I think maybe turn 9 is going to be another opportunity, or potentially turn 10 more so. So opportunities are going to be at a premium, let's say. It's going to be tricky to get past, and so pole position really could be a nice way to start things off.
Could, and it's looking like that Chris Grevitt's got the upper hand unless anybody can find some time and really find a lap in the closing stages here, which doesn't look particularly likely. Then this is going to be Chris Grevitt's pole position to take with him and to get an extra point and to bring the championship down to a solitary point. I mean, that's really going to mean that the championship can turn on a change of position in any point of the field. If the two championship contenders are fighting over 13th and 14th, whoever finishes ahead in that case would have enough of a swing to put themselves in the lead of the championship. So that's how close it's going to be tonight, and that's how it looks like it's going to be. Herlock behind Tokarev, though, that's not going to be useful for him off the race start.
No, it certainly isn't. I mean, the only time I can think of a championship that's come closer is Lauda and I think it was Prost. Half a point between the pair of them. I think it was 1984 when you go back that far. That's the only other, closest title battle I can think of off the top of my head, Darragh. I don't know about you. So, yeah, 2 points is nothing at all. Of course, if it does come down to 1 when we get into the race itself, that is going to be so exciting in terms of position battling for every single inch of circuit as well. As Callum Wilson coming round to finish another lap. I don't think it's going to be a quick one, but probably a setup for his final run now.
Yeah, this is going to come down to the end of this session, right at the end of the session. 20 seconds left on the clock, and drivers just about going to get themselves onto their final runs here. Reda Uhalal won't get to the line in time to start another lap, but he is improving on his previous attempt. It looks like he's only a few tenths off here. This could even jump him up into the top 5-6 here if Uhalal can nail this final sector. Let's see what he can do. It's that lemony livery that we've come to know and love over the course of the season, and this is his final qualifying lap of the championship. Where's it going to put him? He's going to jump from P11 all the way to P7. Not a bad lap time at all from him, and within a second of the pole time, which has been slightly hard to come by at some stages over the course of this season. Grevitt's going again, Tokarev's going again, Herlock maybe as well, but Grevitt's the only one finding time at the moment. Herlock is now a 2.
I tell you, Uhalal's going to be really happy with that lap. 7th place, I think that might even be his highest qualifying position all season. So good lap from Raider there. He'll be patting himself on the back as I don't know how, Darragh, but somehow Chris Grevitt, purple sector 1, purple sector 2, he's still finding time out there. This is incredible to see. Of course, comes up to the line. This is his final chance, so any improvement is going to be a welcome one for him. Let's see what he can do through the final few corners.
Yeah, and of course, we saw that lap time, or the record lap time that was provisional coming into this race was a 1:40, but already into those 1:39s. And we could see that beaten even more. And again, another improvement. 39.273 for Chris Grevitt, goes to the top of the timesheets, and he has a couple of tenths in hand. Tokarev isn't improving, Herlock isn't improving. That'll be it. And that's a huge advantage, really, and confidence boost going into the final races of the season.
Certainly is. I think this circuit is that kind of circuit where confidence is key, particularly where you've got crucial braking zones as well. So Grevitt definitely going to be on the forefront of that, best foot forward and all. And you can see here the current qualifying results. So Grevitt will take that pole position, Tokarev second, Herlock third, your top 3. Then we get to Callum Wilson, Alessandro Cappa, Carla Messina, Reda Uhalal, Jordan Osborne, Alan Axon, Simon Trebek, your top 10. Bruno Rejo is 11th with David Zerwes keeping him company there. Michael Clough, Yaroslav Fides, Fabian Michelon, Nick Lowe, and Emmanuel Bibiloni at the back.
Going to be a good starting grid, isn't it? And definitely, I think one where we're going to see so many of the drivers looking to move forward, and particularly if you're going to be Daniel Herlock, you're going to have to be pressuring Chris Grevitt in the early stages. With the reverse grid, there's no guarantee that you can cycle back to the front, and even though there isn't a massive winners bonus here, actually, getting the extra couple of points from finishing in first compared to third, that's a 5-point swing. If it was just 7th compared to 9th, that's only 2 points. So when we're talking about margins so narrow, this opening race could really be a big decider.
It could, but I think it's going to come down to the second one. If I'm going to get my tinfoil hat on, Darragh, only on the basis because of the reverse grid, we don't know where people are going to end up. I mean, who knows what's going to happen down at turn number 1? If, for example, any of the championship rivals are not even on that reverse grid, that's going to be a huge blow because it means they're definitely outside the top 12 at a bare minimum, maybe outside that top 6. So that's going to be a point deficit they'll have to swing over. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds in the first race, and it's definitely going to set up the second one, as we know. But I think it's going to come down to the final one of the season, and that's exciting to think about.
Yeah, and what a season we've had in this championship. I mean, even a couple of weeks back when we saw Gravit on 2 wheels, didn't we, into the final corner of Bathurst? We've had so many moments, and that's just in the last couple of weeks. This championship has just swung both ways, isn't it? For Herlock, for Gravit. I mean, even back at Alton Park, we had an incredible double headers worth of races with Herlock and Gravit right at the forefront of that as well. But incredible, really, to have such a close championship running, and to have 2 drivers clearly at the front, but yet so close together.
Yeah, it is exciting. Going back to Gravit, I can tell you now, I got told off for shouting at that one when he was on 2 wheels. I was a bit too loud in my tiny little flat. I got told off by my wife, so thought I'd mention it. It's a bit funny. But yeah, it's certainly been a topsy-turvy season, you could say, in some respects. I think what impresses me most about Chris Gravett, looking at the statistics on him, is he's only won 2 races all season long. Daniel Herlock has won 4. However, I think in terms of consistency, in terms of top 3 positions, Gravett is on 10, Herlock is on 9. Top 5, they're both got 12. So it's those little lower top-end positions that have enabled Gravett to be right up there in the mix, and it really just goes to show that consistency is key when it comes to racing. And yeah, he's done a marvellous job this season so far.
Yeah, and it is going to come down to this final race of the season, or final evening of the season at least. And with them starting so close together, it would take a big instant really to take one of them out of contention heading into that final 25-minute encounter. But I mean, realistically speaking here, with the pole position that Chris Gravett's now picked up, 1 point being the difference, it now means that if you finish ahead of the other, you're going to be leading the championship.
Yeah, you certainly are. It's I can't wait, Darragh. If I'm being completely honest, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it so much. We've talked over the fact that we've had the outlap from some of the drivers here. We normally get a nice warm-up lap where we can see the layout of the circuit and have a bit of a chat about some of the corners. We've glossed over that this evening. I think we're just too entangled and enthralled by this championship, but maybe there's enough time to get one going here through turn number 1, slightly banked there for Tarzanbach, and then you've got this lovely sort of middle part of the first sector left, then immediately switching it over to the right to open up this corner here, turn number 3, I'm going to say, some call it number 4, and then you're all foot flat to the floor and climbing the revs and the gears as you find your way through the sandy dunes, round to the left, back over to the right, over the crest here, and then down towards turn 6 or 7, depending on how many you're counting. And this is a very tricky one as well. You really do need to have such precision as you make it over that hill, because easily can snag the rear there, Darragh, and lose control. But we're not going to have enough time, unfortunately. We're going to start the race.
We are going to get ourselves into race mode, and there's going to be a formation lap. I remind myself of this every single time we're here in the T6, because I often forget and I often make an absolute fool of myself. Not for the only time every single evening, but we will get into that very shortly. Drivers just about getting themselves onto the grid, onto this rFactor 2 grid that they've come to really know and love. And I think it's interesting as we come to the end of a season as well, when we've had close championship battles, and even some drivers who aren't quite fighting for those top positions, but are fighting for even the top 5 in the championship. They will know their rivals so well at this stage of the season. They can kind of guess how they're going to race with them, and that can really lead to some really smart and really quite intense racing.
Yeah, it certainly can do. I mean, I can cast my mind back to the last touring car season we had, and Alan Axon fighting, I think, for the podium and prize-giving spots, I believe it was, and he was able to defend the lead at Brands Hatch for the entire second race as he got the reverse grid pole. And I remember Vlad Tokarev chasing him down lap after lap, and there was a clear pace advantage for Vlad at that time, but Axon did what he needed to do, and he got the point deficit and was able to snatch something right under the noses of others at the very end. So I'm hoping we're going to get somewhat of a repeat here, but this time it's even more stakes as it is for the championship itself.
Yeah, and this is going to be an absolutely enthralling evening's worth of racing. 50 minutes it'll be, but for the first 25 minutes, our grid comes from the results of qualifying. So these positions may look a little bit familiar if you were with us all of 5 minutes ago. But we will take a quick look at the grid going into this opening race of the evening, and it's the chaser, Chris Grevitt. I say the chaser, he's 1 point behind. He'll go from pole ahead of Vlad Tokarev and current championship leader Daniel Hurlock. Callum Wilson lines up 4th in a bid to try and get himself to the top 4 in the championship, but to do that he has to overtake Alessandro Cappa in the point standings, and Cappa's right behind him. Messina, his teammate, will start 6th with Reda Halal and Jordan Osborne inside the top 8. Row 5 is made up of 2 more Unlimited Esports drivers just behind their teammate who starts P8 of Alan Axon and Simon Trebek. Bruno Reno and David Cervez inside the top 12. They all start inside the points, and inside a possible reverse grid they'll look to move forward to try and consolidate that hope. Michael Clough, Yaroslav Fides, and it'll be Fabian Michelon who start in what would be the points finishing positions in P15 with Lowe just in P16, and then Bibaloni P17. That'll be the final driver, not the points playing position. He's outside of the points playing positions. He'll be the final driver on the grid. 17 drivers to go racing. And really, for Vlad Tokarev right now, he's got 42 points on the table. He's currently 37 points back. It's possible, actually. You can't count him out just yet.
You can't. Mathematically, yes, you are right. You cannot. However, Darragh, this is racing. We never know what's going to happen. And I think it's going to take some absolute miracle for him to snatch anything away here. Simply because Hurlock and Grevitt, they have to finish 17th and 16th to not score anything. And then that way, if Tokarev won, he would then be able to close that gap in and maybe have a chance. But 16th and 17th for those two, I highly doubt it, considering they are 1st and 3rd. But Grevett's got one job to do, first of all, get down to turn number 1 in the lead and try and take it from there.
It's going to be the number 1 task for a lot of these drivers, but who can get the launch? We're about to find out. Red lights are coming on here for the penultimate race of the season here at Zandvoort. Chris Grevitt, the chaser on pole. Can he get the win here? Or can Vlad Tokarev try and upset him? Even his championship rival, Daniel Hurlock, they're all going to come towards turn 1, almost in a tiz together as they work their way through the opening corner. Tokarev's got to the inside line. Grevitt's lost the lead already. Not what he needed at all. He cannot afford to lose out to Daniel Hurlock in the opening couple of corners. But at turn number 2, the inside line falls to the championship leader, and Grevitt goes from 1st to 3rd. He'll have the inside line at turn 3 as Grevitt goes all the way down the inside. Sorry, Hurlock goes all the way around the outside, and it works out for him as we've got a couple of cars off into the wall. That's neither of our championship contenders, but dropping down the order, that is Callum Wilson, I believe, who has dropped all the way towards the back of the field. Alan Axon as well caught up in that disaster for them off at the start, but Tokarev getting the launch he needed. Disaster really for Grevitt.
Yeah, really not the start he was looking for. Let's hope he can pick up some pace, but it looks like he's going to be under threat from Kappa here as well into turn number 8, Master Bock, and now turn number 9 as well, still going side by side. This is not what Grevitt needed at all, as his Hurlock, his rival, is just slowly making his way down the road and just pulling a little bit of a gap on them. Almost a second has opened up between the pair of them as they get onto this back straight out of turn number 10 and towards the chicane now. Grevitt, he needed the best start. He hasn't got it. He's now got work to do.
He does have work to do, and he will have the silver lining that if he finishes at least in the top 6, he will start, and behind Daniel Hurlock, he will start ahead of Hurlock, but he doesn't really want to be into a position where he feels like Hurlock needs to lose points rather than he just needs to manage the gap. That's the real risk for him as we run through the end of the opening lap. Wilson has retired from the race. He will be taking no further part in this opening race of the evening, and with Axon a long way down, his P5 should be safe from the championship, but his P4 hopes look to be pretty much gone. Opening lap has come to the end though, and not really any moves to be made for Chris Grevitt. If anything, he's under more pressure from Kappa than he's applying pressure to the top 2.
It certainly is. I mean, that could still have implications that Wilson is out and Axon's still in. There's 15 points between the pair of them for P5 at the moment. And Axon, that is the final prize-paying position you need to be in. So that could still have some ramifications here. And if Axon can find his way further forward, but he is in the pit, so I don't think that's on the cards. I was going to say he might have been able to pick something up, but he is also in the pits, as well as Fides down there as well. So Wilson out, 2 in the pits. I wonder if they're going to drop away too.
Yeah, they look like they are going to be pretty much out of the race, if not out of contention at least. Whoever could finish first out of those three could pick up the final point playing position, though, unless something happens to drivers further up the field. 22 minutes left to go. Still a very long way to go in this opening race. And Zandvoort is a circuit where there's not a lot of quote-unquote dead time. And by that I mean, at tracks like Le Mans, you get so much time down a straight that there's actually not much time to really try and make and craft some overtakes. Here at Zandvoort, it's just corner after corner, and some of them have such long radiuses that you can gain quite a lot of time in each of them. This is going to be a race where, we could see ebbs and flows all the way to the checkered flag.
Yeah, certainly can do. And do you know what, Darragh? I think we found this out last week when we had the Porsche cars at Daytona. Of course, that normally is slipstream heaven. Some might refer to it as, but unfortunately the rFactor 2 sim, it's the one thing I think it lacks. It doesn't do slipstream that well, and we found out it was very tricky to actually get alongside your rival, even in a very much close proximity and slipstream of the car in front. So I think maybe rFactor 2 is probably better to have these kinds of circuits where there's corner after corner, because then you can really test your skills against your rivals and see where you can make time on them.
Yeah, and it does go to show that this is the kind of circuit where I think there's going to be quite a lot of tussling for position as we see it at turn 3. Around the outside goes Jordan Osborne trying to fight with Raider Uhalal, and Osborne's going to keep that position up into the top 6 now. Uhalal gained the place from Callum Wilson dropping down, is now lost out to Osborne, and Osborne is now in what would be a confirmed reverse grid position. Of course, it could be anywhere from the top 6 to the top 12 as we have a car turned around. Looks like it's Michael Clough. He is not going to be taking, he's not going to be getting any more chances at getting towards the top 10 in this race, and it's giving a couple more drivers that extra position or two. For example, Bibaloni, he's gone from 17th to 10th.
I was just about to mention him. He's had 7 positions gain on that first lap alone. That is a monumental climb there for him, and that's going to be a big win as well for him in a sense, because all season long he has sort of been struggling, I feel, to sort of get up to a bit of pace compared to the rest of them. So he's been a bit on the back foot on majority of the races. I hate to say it, but this looks like it could be a good evening for him and maybe a bit of a confidence boost. Of course, it's a shame it's the final round, but either way for him, maybe that'll spur him on to come back next time and go for another challenge.
Yeah, give him a good, almost good reason to have belief going into future seasons and future championships that he participates in. And it's a good start, really, to be able to go up 7 positions and to put yourself right in contention for what could be a reverse grid pole. If you started last race 1 and got on pole race 2, that wouldn't be a bad evening, would it? You really get the full plethora of opportunities in both the races. Meanwhile, Uhalal's going further backwards. He's been overtaken by Simon Trebek now. It's pretty mundane as it's turn number 1.
Yeah, it was a nice, casual overtake, I'd say, for Trebek, as that looks a little bit deep there for Messina, but I guess the banking really does hook the car up nicely. He managed to get it around very well indeed. If anything, I think he actually took it slightly better than Kappa in front of him. That was magnificent to see. But yeah, it just, I think for Uhalal, he's happy with the qualifying. He's going to be happy. I think they're in 8th as well. I think this latter half of the season, that's roughly where he has been. So he's probably expecting that once again, and he still is not out of this battle. He's right on the tail of Simon Trebek. Of course, he's just been passed by him, but by no means is that over.
It's not, and you pointed out quite nicely in that battle of the teammates, the mixed wheel teammates up in front. The differing lines that you can have at this circuit really mean that we're going to see some drivers try some interesting lines to try and make some of these overtakes, even just to get into the mirror of the driver in front, but some of them will work out. Single file, though, down here into the stadium section, and that is not exactly the right line to take. If you just go back and tip a couple of wheels into the gravel, want to keep it nice and tight through the first part of the chicane to open up the left-hander, but we're seeing drivers try anything and everything in the early stages, and better to learn it now than find out in the last couple of laps. Make the mistake, go off the road, lose a position or two, but that is how we run. That was on board with Alessandro Kappa, trying to gain on Chris Grevitt, who, just dropping time from the top 2, and this is going to be heartbreaking or, definitely damaging to his confidence at this stage.
It's such a weird thing that's going on here, because we thought, he got pole by almost 2/10 over Tokarev, so we clearly thought wrong in a way, Darragh, because I thought he was just going to sort of get to turn 1, make sure he just stuck with the other 2 that are behind him. We know they're all good at getting off the line, so it's tricky to really find an advantage there, but clearly they had one over Grevitt and he got past, and he just seems to be struggling. So I don't know, maybe thinking about going later and deeper into this race and just trying to save the tyre slightly, because you are constantly turning and hacking at the wheel, that you're going to run a lot of energy through these tyres. Maybe he's just trying to look after them a bit.
Yeah, that is, that is a fair point, because of course these drivers aren't going to be making any pit stops in this race, are they? So the tyres that you start with are what you're going to have to end with. But 25 minutes, yes, it's Zandvoort. Yes, the tyres can put under a little bit more pressure, but even still, I think we are seeing a bit of a lack of pace. I mean, there's always that possibility that you could have set the car up a little bit more in favour of qualifying than for the race, but there is a reverse grid race to think about as well, so that wouldn't necessarily be the easiest decision to make in terms of going for more of a qualifying based setup. But he's still got time to recover in this race. We've seen drivers come back, particularly at Bathurst a couple of weeks ago, and that's a circuit where there is, as I was talking about, a lot more dead time with a lot more long straights and just time where you're sat there at full throttle, not really gaining too much on the car in front. So still chances for Grevitt, and with Herlock falling away from Thacker, once he loses that slipstream, he could fall into the grasp of Grevitt, and again, as Grevitt gets closer, that slipstream will become more important, and he could gain a little bit more every single lap. So definitely chances, but at the moment, the championship's going to go out to 4 points with the final race still to go, and at that point, Grevitt will have to gain more positions than Herlock, or maybe hope for a Herlock mistake.
I mean, it's still doable, even if it is a 4-point deficit going into the final round. It's not going to be curtains for him. It might make him a bit hungry, if anything, but the gap does seem to be stabilizing a little bit here, Darragh. It's a second between the top 4 now. Even when you get down to Messina in 5th, it's about just over a second there as well, even to Osborne, Trebek. To be honest, looking at it, it all seems to have stabilised really well, all the way down to David Zerwes in 9th, where you finally get a gap that's bigger than 1.5. So maybe it's struggling to follow the car in front. I don't know. I've not actually driven this circuit with these cars, so it's I can't really tell you exactly how it feels, but clearly it's something going on, because they're pretty stable, but they're all stable in the same distance between each other. It's a bit odd.
It is. And I think some of the drivers are still just going to be trying to work that one out themselves as they race with others around them for the first 10 minutes here this evening. But, I mean, Tokarev doesn't really have to worry. He's got a way, and he's got a couple of seconds up the road. I remember back to the Oschersleben, where he just ran away at the front in the opening race. Mind you, he got pole in that one. But just, dominated the field, didn't look back once, and I don't think he saw anybody in his mirrors after about lap 2 or 3.
Something's happened to Herlock, Darragh. There's a 2/10 gap between them.
Yes, I was just about to mention that, really, because Tokarev's got through, and then that Herlock drop down has shown that the closer you get for Grevitt, the closer he's able to get. I think you're right, there probably was a little mistake in there, but not enough to see Grevitt get through. But this is going to be the championship battle, isn't it, actually? Herlock and Grevitt, they're the 2 contenders at the moment, and whoever can overtake the other one is going to have a huge advantage. At the moment, it would be a 4-point swing if Grevitt could get through.
That's exactly what he would like going into the next round, next race, I should say, when we've got that in about 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so time. So this is definitely going to be crucial. He's got the point for pole. If he can pick up the fastest lap off of Herlock as well, because currently he has that. So the gap sitting at the moment 2 points between them once again, and it's now going to be about a battle of who can get ahead, really. And of course, Vantage currently sat in Herlock's seat, but well, the gap's right back down, so this is race on between the pair of them.
It is, and it's worth pointing out, actually, if Grevitt got through on Herlock, and Herlock keeps the fastest lap, and they finish 2nd and 3rd, they will go into the final race of the season level on point. These are the kind of swings that we're talking about. As it stands, it would be a 5-point advantage for Daniel Herlock, but if it was to swap around, it would get to a dead heat. Moves being made a little bit further back, or at least attempted, for drivers looking to try and get themselves into that reverse grid, into contention towards the back of the field. And people only pressuring for an overtake. Pressuring a little bit more is Grevitt, and towards turn 1, he's got the best run he's had all race long. Herlock's dropping from Tokarev. Grevitt's going to have the opportunity. It's going to have to be the outside at turn 1, though.
He's going to make him do it the long way round. He made sure he got down to the pit wall, so he had the inside line here for turn 1. He's probably going to try and run him a little bit wide as well, but they're still side by side on exit. This is Grevitt's chance then, I feel, as they make their way up through the corners for turn 2 and 3, but Herlock's just about managed to get back in front, and you don't want to take that inside line through this long left-hander. It does seem to be a bit slower.
It does. It doesn't necessarily look like it's the optimal place to be right now. And Kappa's gaining as well, isn't he? He's getting himself involved in this battle with, half of this race left to run. Tokarev is gone, though. This is the real battle in this race. Kappa could almost upset these two and get involved in their championship battle, and you can see that run through turn 6, and we highlighted it at the start of the race as a corner to watch out for. The run that Kappa's got has put him right on the back of Grevitt into this middle sector, and the differing lines that you can take through here mean that you have to make a defensive run if you're trying to hold onto your position, and that's what Grevitt's having to do right now.
As I said, this is going to give Herlock a bit of a breather here, because Grevitt is having to look in his rear view mirrors as opposed to being hyper focused on Herlock in front. And that, like you said, he's going to have to compromise his line slightly, so Herlock can just get a little bit of a breather. We can see that there. It's opened up to 6-7 tenths, but Kappa is absolutely on it here. In practice before the stream started, Darragh, I don't know if you saw it sort of time-wise, but Kappa was right at the sharp end, and it's proving that his pace wasn't just a fluke in practice. He's showing it here. He's carrying it over, and it looks like he could challenge even maybe for that second spot.
Yeah, he's absolutely in contention here to make sure that he could be the one to get into the mix here, and if he could get through on both Grevitt and Herlock, then of course the maths becomes that little bit different once again. With the two in behind, Kappa himself just looking to consolidate P4 in the championship. Wilson's now out of this one, so won't be picking up any points. Tokarev ahead of him will be extending that gap, which is already at 17. So at the moment, Kappa just looks like he's heading straight for a P4 championship finish, but would love to get himself onto the podium and show what really he can do. And there was so much promise, I think, at the start of the season. He was right in contention, just dropping away a little bit in the last couple of rounds. But just, it doesn't take away from the pace that he has shown so far this season. He really has been one to be very wary of.
He has. He's in terms of sort of race wins, I think he's actually second on overall race wins, or is he? Yeah, he's got 3 as opposed to Grevitt, Tokarev. They've got 2 apiece, and then Wilson on 1, and then Mitchell, Cripps as well, 1 each. Of course, Herlock being on 4 with the most. But yeah, he's been a bit of a dark horse, Kappa, I feel like. It's such a shame this season has been a bit up and down, because he really did start off strong, and I thought honestly it was going to be between him and Herlock most of the way, but Grevitt has plugged away at it, and just shows you again, I mentioned it earlier, consistency, and because he's been so consistent, he is right there and looking to try and take it away from Herlock.
Yeah, Herlock is going to have to be very watchful now. I mean, running with Tokarev, it was a little bit of a safety barrier, wasn't it? Because he was able to keep with that race leader. But ever since dropping away, and we mentioned it, it's meant that he has become more and more vulnerable. Grevitt's become stronger and stronger, and it almost looks like Grevitt's just not lurking necessarily, but just sitting and waiting for an opportunity to arise here. And there's no way that he's going to sit behind and allow Herlock to take P2 here. He's going to try and make a move somewhere. It's a matter of when, not if, and that's going to be the concern for the championship leader.
Certainly is. Well, I tell you the other thing, Darragh, is now Herlock has lost the back of Tokarev, as you mentioned, that sort of safety net. The other thing that will have an effect on is you haven't got a marker in front of you anymore. You're doing it completely on your own skills and technique and talent. Not to say that that Herlock needs Tokarev to do that, because we know he can do it on his own. He's been out front many a times. He knows how to do that. He's led most laps this season. But when you do lose that marker, I don't know what it is, but something just switches and it becomes a little bit trickier to find the lap time sometimes. It's much easier to follow someone. But then the counter flip to that, if you do get laser focused on them, you can't pass them because you're just following in their tracks.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty I think some of these drivers are having to contend with at the moment. And that's part of the difficulty racing at a circuit such as Zandvoort, but in these conditions as well. You don't really have an opportunity to really be bashful in going for some of these moves. You have to be quite aggressive and stern in how you're trying to construct some of these overtakes. But nothing doing into the stadium section once again for Chris Grevitt. Will keep on hounding his championship rival throughout the rest of this race. Kappa, though, making those little mistakes. He's dropping away, and he's dropping out of contention and out of focus for these two right now.
That would be nice for Grevitt to know as well. You can see in his rear view mirror there, he's just dropped back. So he's got a buffer where if he goes for a move, it doesn't pay off. He now knows that he can get away with it. So maybe you might see him make a bit more of an effort at sending it here on Herlock. He's going to try and have to do it the long way again. Herlock favouring that inside line, the defensive racing line, and rightly so, because you do want to keep your rival behind and still doing that just. But this is allowing Kappa, of course, to get back into that 1 second mark. Once again, the harder they fight, the closer he'll be, and the more of a risk it is then for Grevett, because Kappa may get past him.
Yeah, and Kappa, again, he's getting a little bit out of focus, and you're right, it does enable Grevett to maybe have that little bit more freedom and to go for a move here, because there's less of a risk if he just makes a slight error as they run their way through. There are other things going on the circuit. Well, I say that there's not really much going on the circuit, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. This is the championship battle. Daniel Hurlock, Chris Grevett, they've been going at it all season long, and these 2-point, 3-point swings have been the name of the game all the way through in the last few months for these two, and it's all coming down to a really big tussle, and it's going to run into the second race of the evening as well, because if they finish next to each other, they're going to start next to each other as well.
Yeah, certainly, and then once again it will come down to who can get a better launch, who can navigate the other drivers better. You would argue these guys have got the pace to just find their way to the front once again. Look how close he gets to the back of Hurlock through that part of the circuit. If he can try and find a way to get alongside into the braking zone, I feel like he can absolutely get him through the next part of that corner, but he just can't seem to get alongside yet, and that's just, it's hard at the moment for Chris. He's got to try and do something, I feel, a bit unorthodox to maybe get past him, because the traditional and conventional ways are not working.
They're not. Oh, but there's a bit of a dummy to the inside there from Daniel Hurlock. Grevett trying to loop it around the outside. Can he find it? No, not quite. You'd have to get up very early in the morning to make that one work in these touring cars, and Daniel Hurlock will hold on for a little while longer. Grevett's going to have to try and force a move through somehow. He's got to try some different lines now. He's got to see what works, what doesn't work, because if he leaves it for the final couple of laps, he may find himself coming up short.
Well, that's the thing he doesn't want to do, of course. But I mean, at the same time, if you can get it done on the last lap, there's no chance to respond. So you can look at that as a double-edged sword, if you will. But yeah, this is a bit of a psychological one again here, Darragh. Chris, he's got to try and find the gap, the space, and just send it on him. Even if he doesn't get it done on the first attempt, it just shows Hurlock that he is willing to go for it and challenge him for this championship. And he's gotten really close here now.
Yeah. 5.5 minutes to go in this race, and Grevett's looking for a move here. If he can find it, he's not going to be able to get it before we get onto the back straight. We've just had words from Rich up in race control and making the broadcast and doing everything that we give him full credit for doing. It's going to be a reverse top 10 in this race. Bruno Reyno looks like he's going to be the driver to be on that reverse grid pole, and with drivers, or as I should say, with these two likely to be starting ever further back, 8th and 9th it would be as it stands, I think it's even more of a requirement for Grevett to get the move done now, because the further you go back, the less points difference there is between positions, so less of a chance to overturn what would be a 5-point advantage. So this is crucial now for Grevett to try and get through on Hurlock with 4 minutes 40.
You're right, it is. I tell you, this could be the chance here. Darragh, Hurlock diving to that inside pit wall to make sure he has the defensive line. I think this is the closest that Chris has ever had. He's the long way around the outside, but he's still going to be door-to-door on the exit, but he's much further ahead than he was at any other stage. Is Hurlock going to be able to keep it ahead, though? Yes, he is so far, and I think Chris is just going to have to follow him through once again. But my word, he's getting so close, and Chris is just trying to find anything at the moment. But in terms of going back with the reverse grid there, sorry, I will apologise there, sorry. The further back they go, there's more drivers in front of them that they're going to have to pass as well. It's just another thing to think about.
Yeah, and it's just not going to be useful for them, really, to be that little bit further back. The car in front that you can see, don't worry, it's not Thacker. That is Yaroslav Fides, who is a lap down on the overall race leader, so he's not really in contention. Will jump out of the way very shortly when these two rock up to the back of the battle. But Vlad Tokarev, I think we're going to have 2 more to go when he crosses the line next, which means that there's only going to be 2 more to go for these two as they cross the line next. Grevett looking for a better run down in towards the stadium section. Does not look like he's quite going to have it, but he is hassling Hurlock around this track. Kappa coming more into view with every corner that they battle at.
Yeah, it's looking that way. I mean, Fides, he needs to get out of the way. If they get to the back of him, which I can't see why they wouldn't, he just needs to jump out the way, because these two are going to be going at it, and having another car in the mix that is, of course, slower than them around the circuit is one distraction. But the fact that, they don't. What we don't want here, Darragh, for this championship fight is Yaroslav getting in the way between the pair of them, because that's just going to ruin it for us. But he's sensible. There's a flash of the lights there from Herlock. I'm sure he will just up her out the way when he gets the best chance to.
Yeah, and hopefully that is going to be the case that we will see. Otherwise, I think we could see a couple of very unhappy drivers going into race number 2 if we see a lapped car come into the championship battle. Grevitt looking for an inside line, braking late. Can he get enough of a run on the exit? There is going to be a lapped car in the way to maybe help, but he's not quite got the exit speed that he needs to make this move. Flash of the lights from Daniel Herlock, begging Jaroslav Vines to jump out of the way and make sure that he doesn't get himself involved in what could be championship-defining moments here. They've got a lap and a half to go in this race, and Daniel Herlock is hanging on for dear life. Grevitt's trying everything. He needs this move. Reminder, if Grevitt gets through, we're going to have a tied championship with 1 race remaining, Ashley.
Oh God, don't tease me like that, Darragh. That's what I want to see. Yeah, Fides out the way very, very nicely indeed as well. So yeah, fair play to Jaroslav. And yeah, you get the best seat in the house effectively now, because you can see how this championship is going to be decided, I feel like. But of course, if it does go level, like you say, Darragh, it does then come down to who could beat who in the final race itself. But currently, Herlock still with the advantage, and Chris Grevitt with it all to do. But oh, it's so close. It's so close. I can't tell if he's going to do it or not here.
It's difficult to say, isn't it, really? Because Grevitt hasn't really made too many inroads. He's had a couple of looks, but nothing concrete. And now he's only got 1 more lap to do it. Great run, though, as he runs through the final corner. This could be a great chance down at turn 1. Is he going to go inside? Is he going to go outside? Which way does Daniel Herlock blink? Does he defend the inside line late? He looks like he's drifting there. Grevitt's going to have to take the outside line. Is he going to try and walk it? Is he going to try and focus on the exit towards turn 2? The latter is looking like what Grevitt's strategy is going to be. Covering off the line, though, is the championship leader Herlock. No way through for Grevitt. Where else can he make the move now?
Well, they bumped each other through the exit of turn number 1, as Grevitt's going to take the wider line here, preferably that line for the drivers out there as well. They seem to get a bit more exit speed as they come out of it, but it doesn't seem to have done any favours for Grevitt at the moment. His best chance now is down towards that chicane as we get to turn number 11, out of turn number 10. These corners are going to be crucial because he needs to maintain that gap.
Yeah, and this is what it's going to come down to. The final half of a lap here at Zandvoort. Tokarev will not get to the line in time to extend this lap and this race array by another lap. Outside line for Grevitt. Can he hook it all the way around the outside in the middle sector? He's going to have the inside line, is he? He's going to lay claim to the inside line. Chris Grevitt's looking for the move. He's made the move. Can he get the exit out towards this back straight? You bet he can. And Chris Grevitt, on the last lap of the opening race, puts us into a tied championship scenario. If he can defend into the final couple of corners. The timer hits 0. We are on the final lap. Tokarev will come through to take the race win, but Chris Grevitt has made the move when it mattered. He took pole, but he wasn't able to carry that into turn 1. He lost the positions down to P3. And it's taken him 25 minutes to get back into P2, but ahead of his championship rival. Vlad Tokarev will win the opening race of the evening, but the story of race 1 is that move by Chris Grevitt, who will finish second ahead of Daniel Herlock, and they will both go into the final race tied on 227 points.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. I cannot wait for it. I'm trying to work out who that was having a battle there. I think that might have been Messina and Osborne for 5th as they came up to the line as well. Uhalau's going to be next. He's also been in a bit of no man's land, as well as David Zerwes, the next car, but he has actually got Bruno Rejo right up his chuff here as they come to the line now to finish and take the checkered flag. I think it is still going to be Zerwes, then Rejo finishing that top 10. Bibaloni here, 11th. I think this is his best finish all season long, Darragh, and certainly should take that as a positive here because he has done incredibly well to finish there.
Yeah, remarkable stuff for him to jump up 6 positions by the end, but unfortunately for him, he's just 1 position off of that reverse grid pole, which will be occupied by Bruno Rhino by the end of this race. There is Nick Lowe, as he will come around the final couple of corners, to finish his race, and then we will just have, well, actually, that'll be it. Jaroslav Vines was a lap down, wasn't he? So he has completed the race as well. But what a move that is from Chris Grevitt. That could be a championship winning move.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I think that's very clear to say that. And, well, we're level pegging into the final round. You couldn't get it any closer than that, Darragh. I mean, when we see results like this, you always sort of think to yourself, is it scripted in any way, shape or form? Of course it's not. This is the beauty of racing. And when you do see it happen naturally like this, you can't help but get excited about it.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting race. 25 minutes to decide a champion. But here are the results from the opening race. Vlad Tokarev won it ahead of Chris Gravit and Daniel Herlock. Those two drivers will go into the season finale on 227 points apiece. Whoever finishes ahead of the other is going to be champion. Alessandro Capra and Carlo Messina 4th and 5th, with Jordan Osborne and Simon Trebek in 6th and 7th. Rado Halal, David Zoes, and Bruno Reina ran out the top 10, and the reverse grade. It'll be Reina and Zoes on the front row for the second race. The second sheet of cars, 11th down, starts with Emmanuel Biboloni. 5 points will go to him for his efforts in the opening race. Nick Lowe, Yaroslav Weiss, and Alan Axon will all pick up points for finishing inside the top 14. But sadly for Michelin, even though he's 15th, I don't believe he'll pick up the point. Didn't complete enough of the race, but he will start P15 for race number 2. Clough and Wilson, 16th and 17th. We'll see how far they can get through the field in race number 2, but that's just a couple of minutes away. Don't go too far. We're going to take a short break here on the T6 YouTube channel, but we'll be back for the season finale in just a couple of minutes' time. then for the final race of the championship. 25 minutes worth of racing are left to be run, and we have two drivers fighting for a championship in a situation where whoever finishes ahead of the other is going to be the champion after 16 rounds worth of racing. What an evening it's going to be for one of these two drivers. It's going to be a little bit of a sour taste in the mouth for another, but actually, this is kind of what we really wanted to see. Two drivers, one race, when it takes it all.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better finale. Let's put it that way. It's going to be, it's going to be all up against the wall. I'm expecting there's going to be drama at some point because they're going to be giving it everything that they have to try and take that top spot, and it's going to be exciting. I just can't wait to see the green lights now. Let's go. I want to go.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. All the way to the checkered flag. And it is worth noting that we have those two in the championship contention. We did have Thacker in mathematical contention, but he's now out of it. He will definitely finish P3 in the championship unless he decides to completely obliterate half of the field. The same can be said for Alessandro Cappa, who will finish P4 in the championship. There's a slight question mark over the Wilson against Axon battle, but that still is relatively wide. But let's have a look at the grid then for the final race of the season. And at the front of the field, it's going to be Bruno Reino who will take pole. We're going to see it again. There we go. Bruno Reino on pole just ahead of David Zerwes, who will be in P2. Reda Uhalal and Simon Trebek make up row number 2 in this race. And Uhalal, can life give him enough lemons to get him into the winner's circle? Wait and see. Jordan Osborne and Colin Messina 5th and 6th. And then we have the top 4 from race 1 on rows 4 and 5. Alessandro Cappa and Daniel Hurlock, one of the two fighting for the title, will start 8th. The other driver, Chris Grevitt, will start from P9, right in behind. Mind you, though, his start wasn't great in race number 1. Can he rectify that? Tokarev will start 10th, ahead of Bibaloni and Nick Lowe. And then as we cycle through towards the final drivers on the grid, we find Jaroslav Fies and Alan Axon just about finished race number 1, ahead of the non-finishers, Fabio Michelon, Michael Clough, and then it will be Callum Wilson. There he is in P17. Oh, and we've got Basti Schrar joining us as well for the final race of the year, of the season. Maybe not of the year, it's only May. But that is how we line up. Ashley, who's your money on?
Oh, don't ask me that. I knew it was coming. I should have really prepared for it. I'm not. Do you know what? My money's on Chris. He's been so consistent. I've said it time and time again so far because he has just shown tenacity and everything that you need to be a champion, and I think he's a worthy one. I would not take it away from Hurlock if he is able to do it, because he has also been a very worthy champion. I think, the pair of them together, if you could give both of them the top spot, you would, but you can't. We need to have one of them. I think whoever takes it is going to be a worthy champion. My money's going to go on Chris, though.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tense, particularly down towards turn 1. Again, Chris did not get a good launch down into turn 1 last time around. Is he going to be able to rectify that mistake and push himself into, maybe even a championship leading position if he's ahead of Daniel Hurlock? They will start in 8th and in 9th. Basti Schrar just about to line up on the grid and get ourselves ready for 25 minutes worth of racing. Only 25 minutes left of the championship, and we have had so many good races, so many big moments in the championship. This is going to be the biggest one. The red lights are about to come on here at Zandvoort. It's the title decider. Two drivers tied on points. Whoever finishes first will be the champion. Great start it is from Daniel Hurlock. He's already passed Alessandro Cappa. Not the best start. From Chris Grevitt, but contact for Hurlock nearly into the wall. He's sending it down the inside at turn 1. That's brave when you're fighting for a championship, as Chris Grevitt gets to the outside line through turn 1 on Alessandro Cappa. Meanwhile, we're seeing a good start from Bruno Reino. Simon Trebek's got to the top 2, but as they filtered through turn 2 and 3, Hurlock's fighting for moves past Cappa, maybe even past David Zerwes, but Chris Grevitt's just trying to keep an eye on him.
Has he gone? He's now got Tokarev keeping him company as well down the back there, just trying to pick them out. Of course, you've got a lot of unlimited esport cars, so it's actually hard to try and see which one it is, but door banging stuff from Hurlock.
Oh, and a bit of a spin, half spin from Jordan Osborne, who will just about slot in behind. Daniel Hurlock could have been curtains for the both of them if they weren't too careful. Chris Grevitt has 2 cars to overtake between himself and his championship rival. Could be 3, as down the inside goes Daniel Hurlock on David Zerwes. He's got that one done, and for Chris Grevitt, he needs to get moves done now because he's seeing his championship rival disappear up the road at the moment.
Yeah, this was the part of the race I was worried for most, because it was really going to be a case of who can make their way up the road furthest between them. And it seems Herlock has taken that, that ball by both hands, and he seems to be wrestling it into submission at the moment. He is 4th, and Gravett is 7th. He's actually just dropped to 8th. Kappa seems to have managed to get past him into turn 11 there. You can see them there side by side battling as they make their way towards the final few corners.
Yeah, is there any kind of move to be made here for Gravett? Got to be careful. Oh, look at this. Messina's coming up the inside now as well into the final corner. Then you've got Alan Axon, the teammate to Gravett, who's trying to follow through as well. Who's going to get the slipstream down towards turn 1? Surely Kappa's going to give it to Messina. He's not. He's going to give it to Chris Gravett here, and Gravett will be able to defend down into turn number 1. Is he going to try and overtake? His rival, Messina, down the inside. That's bold. It's brave. It's not going to work out. Tokarev still stocked there as well. But Daniel Herlock's P3 now. He's marching through the field, and as Gravett gets through to the lead, it's P2. Reino's off the road.
Oh, that was so close and lucky there for Herlock. Let's hope he doesn't roll into anybody as well there, Reino. What a shame, because he had a strong start as well. He was battling it with Simon Trebek in Gravett's teammate there, or at least the sister team. So Trebek can maybe help him out here, because he is leading the race. He can try and keep Herlock behind him as long as possible, but Herlock is such a force to be reckoned with. This is going to be a tough one for him.
Yeah, it's going to be really quite difficult to see how he can now find a way through. Herlock going for the race lead, then around the outside, exactly where he lost the position to Chris Gravett just a few minutes ago in race number 1. He's got the inside line now for the left-hander, and Chris Gravett, check, Daniel Herlock has taken the race lead here. He is going to try and run away up the road. Gravett's 7th. This is disaster for Chris at the moment. He's going to need a miracle to get back through for the lead now. Yeah,
it's not looking good. I wouldn't have bet against it that Trebek sent it on Herlock into that next corner, but he didn't, thankfully, and we've still got a race on our hands here between all of these guys. Uhalau and Osborne there getting a little bit feisty through the chicane as well. And at this point, I mean, I was expecting Chris to do it, but I think at this point it's hard to bet against Herlock.
Let's be honest with ourselves. Simon Gravett is doing his best for his teammate to maybe get himself back into the race lead, but Chris Gravett needs to be doing a hell of a lot more to try and get himself to the front of the field. Outside line of Alessandro Kappa is where he's looking for. That's not going to work out. Kappa nearly goes to the back of David Zerwes, mind you. But for Chris Gravett now, I mean, where are the chances? He has to overtake 6 cars, including Herlock. He only overtook one in the opening race of the evening.
This is going to be hard. I mean, it's easy to say it's going to be hard here. I mean, he's got so much ahead of him. The gap is just opening up as well, because Trebek can't seem to stick with Herlock. That gap is 6 tenths, and I think it's only going to increase. Back to Osborne here and Uhalau. That's a second already opened up there. By the time you get back to Gravett, I think you're looking at about 2.5, almost 3 seconds between him and Herlock. And of course, there is 6 cars in between that.
Yeah, and that is really where his difficulties lie. Inside line further up, they're nearly 3 wide then in the middle sector, as it's going to be a move for Chris Gravett past David Zerwes. Inside line now for Carlo Messina to try and get into the top 7 as well, and Zerwes is dropping down the field like a sack of spuds right now. He may be overtaken by Alan Axon as well. Tokarev's lurking in the background too. Mind you, Callum Wilson as well. He's come up from the back of the field to P11. Don't count him out for a good finish in this race. Gravett, though, 6 tenths behind Alessandro Kappa. Needs to close that gap, needs to make the move. He's not got much time to do it. 20 minutes. It's looking tough.
Yeah, I think at this point it almost seems impossible. I mean, all he can do now, find a rhythm, get in it, and just see how far he can get. I mean, the best bet I would say at the moment, we know Kappa's got some pace in that car. Just try and follow him, because he should be able to outpace Uhalau. He should be able to outpace Osborne Trebek. And then you just got to hope that Herlock hasn't pulled away all that much. But I mean, he's going to try and have a look at it here to get past Kappa. But the last thing you want is to fight hard with your rival, because you're just going to lose so much time.
Yeah, and that's really what he can't afford to do right now. Gravett trying to find a way through on Kappa, going for the high line through turn 3. Is it going to give him the drive that he needs through 4 and 5 into 6? He's going out of the slipstream, looking to try and manufacture an overtake here if he can find it, nearly side by side as they rise over the crest of the dunes, but he can't find the move. He can't make it work. And Carlo Messina's right there. He's got to be so careful, otherwise Messina's going to mop up the afters.
Oh, Kappa goes a bit deep. He's gone a bit onto the grass. I don't think it's going to affect him though. So he was very fortunate to not lose out there to Gravett. but just about manages to hang on to 5th, and it's still going to be a tall mountain to climb as Tokarev off in the background. That's more positions lost for him. So Axon through, Clough is through as well. I'm just trying to work out where Wilson is now, because he really has done a number. He's up to 10th now, Darragh.
Yeah, really doing a good job right now is Clough. Axon as well doing a good job. And Wilson, he's up to 9th momentarily. There he goes, up to P9 ahead of Alan Axon. As we're looking at that battle right now, the 444 looking to try and get his way through. He might have to use the inside line to get this move done on Alan Axon. And if he can, he will be free to try and chase after David Zewers. There's a little bit of contact. Axon into the grass, into the gravel, I should say. Here comes Clough. Clough could take maybe even both of them, as Tokarev is just dropping down the field after winning race 1 comfortably.
Yeah, I don't think he is going to get them here, Clough, but he's potentially... No, I think Axon's going to cover him off there. Wilson definitely cementing that position. He's just gained, so he's now 9th. Oh, what's happening there?
Yeah, sorry, I just saw Grevitt looking for the move around the outside of Kappa. It's not going to work out into turn 2. Inside line at turn 3. Can he get this one done? It'll be another one to tick off the list. Kappa, though, with some drive around the outside. He's onto the curb, but he's back through. What a line from Alessandro Kappa. It's kept him in the top 5. Grevitt still needs that position, though.
Definitely does, and Messina is right up his chuff as well. That's not helping his nerves, I should say. Definitely feeling the tension here. But at the moment, every minute, every corner that passes, that championship just slipping further and further away for Grevitt. The only thing I would say, Herlock has not, darted off down the road. He's only 4 tenths ahead of Trebek there. You can see the gap now. We're watching them on board. Osborne's still keeping with. So's Uhalau. And then you are back to Kappa and Grevitt. So I wouldn't say it's impossible. It's just really unlikely.
Yeah, I think you're right there. It's not completely out of the question, because he's, Trebek and Osborne are keeping Herlock honest at the front of the field, but it is looking tough, isn't it, for him to get all the way through, especially with him struggling this much to get through on Alessandro Kappa. There is the battle. I mean, they are catching right at Uhala touch, who was dropping off the back of the top 3. But he's got to get through soon. The run out of the final corner doesn't look amazing, but he will have that slipstream. Brief yellow flag out as well. Not too sure who that's for. I believe it's for Yaroslav Fides at the back. But these guys don't matter or don't worry about that. They're just worrying about their own little battles. And Kappa trying to keep himself in the top 5 with Grevitt's pressure behind.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at that little gaggle back there. Here it is. This is Fides at the front of the field or at the front of that pack, I should say. Oh, he didn't find the gap. I thought he just about managed to sneak back through the little opening. He just about tagged Clough on the way through there, though. Luckily, all facing in the right direction once again, so no big carnage or chaos unfolding. But yeah, that was a bit touch and go for Zerwes there.
Very much touch and go, nearly the end of his race, really, or at least in competitive fashion, as we see Grevitt again getting close on the back of Alessandro Kappa, but not quite close enough. Callum Wilson is rocking up to the back of this battle, mind you. He is going to be right in the fray in the pretty near future, if he keeps up the pace that he is currently showing. And as we see another car off the road, that is in the battle. That's Michael Clough off the road. He's dropping down the order, and he is just going to fall into the clutches of Nick Lowe as Tokarev and Zerwes go side by side. But I was just saying that Grevitt's going to have to be careful, because with Messina there and maybe Wilson in a minute as well, he really is going to be under pressure to make the move, otherwise he could be the one overtaken.
I mean, the pressure's been on from the lights sat on the grid, Darragh. I mean, it's fair to say that, at least. I know what you're saying, though. It's just adding on to that, which is what he does not want at this moment. He just wants to get... If he can get past Kappa, I think things will settle down for him, and he knows that he's got the pace to then catch up to Uhalau and then potentially close in the gap. I mean, look at the front 3. There's nothing really separating them. Only 6 tenths is the largest gap between Trebek and Osborne. Trebek right behind Herlock.
Yeah, and Trebek is the one looking to try and make a move for the race lead here. As they run their way towards turn 1, it's not going to be able to quite do it, as Kappa is going to try and get back through on Grevitt, because he's gone around the outside, and Chris looks like he's maybe got this one done. Has he got the drive towards turn 2? Not quite to be fully ahead. There is going to be an inside line for Kappa, but can Grevitt make sure he controls the line and not allow the Italian to go right around the outside this time? He's trying to cover off the line. He's doing a good job of it, but not quite good enough to get it fully done. Grevitt is going to have to keep battling this one. Kappa back through. Bold and brave for him. He's back inside the top 5.
I really thought Grevitt was just going to dictate where Kappa had to go. He just gave him enough wiggle room. And Kappa took full advantage of it, muscling. I felt he muscled Gravette back into submission, really, and kept him behind. I thought Gravette had control of the corner. Clearly didn't have Kappa under control, though, because he did manage to find a way back through. But this is just heartache and pain for Gravette. He really does need to make something happen. But look at this. The teammates are definitely going to try and gang up on Herlock here and see if they can help him out.
Yeah, and let's see if Herlock can fend off these two, because they are going to be fighting for Chris Gravett here. They know that Chris Gravett is fighting for the championship with Daniel Herlock, and to have two teammates up there for Chris Gravett is a bit of a godsend. You can see in the background that lime green car stuck behind Alessandro Kappa and now Raider Uhalal at the moment as they work their way towards the final couple of corners. You know, if Gravett can find a way through Kappa and Uhalal, and Trebek and Osborne can, you know, double team Daniel Herlock, all of a sudden, they're right close together, and there could be a chance for the championship. But a lot's going to have to happen first, and firstly, it's going to be Chris Gravett making a move. Kappa goes defensive to the inside line, Uhalal's on the outside line. They're both going to get through on him, or are they? Is Gravett going to get through as well? He must do. He cannot afford to let Kappa get up the road here. He'll have the inside line for turn 2. Let's see if he can get this one done.
Yeah, that inside line normally favourable, and yes, it is on this occasion too. Gravett through, but still behind Kappa, which is the bane of his existence at the moment. However, that does open up the road slightly because Uhalal out the way. It is a clear shot to the front three, and you can throw a blanket over those guys. There is nothing separating them. So hopefully Kappa can do the business for Gravett, and they can just coast on back up to that top three.
Yeah, and let's see if that is how it's going to pan out here. There is a 4-second gap between Alessandro Kappa and Jordan Osborne. They are the two leading trains right now. Trebek and Osborne not really able to lay a glove so far on Daniel Herlock. Laying a glove, though, is Carlo Messina to the inside of Raider Uhalal. Callum Wilson may fancy his chances to get through as well, as those three cars almost walk into each other through the left-hander onto this back straight. Callum Wilson sniffing a chance to get through on Messina here, and I think he will indeed. No move on for Chris Gravett down in towards the chicane, but behind, Messina's trying to go down the inside. Wilson around the outside. He's got that one done in the 444, and he will be up inside the top 7 now on the exit. He can now try and find his way past Uhalal. 100% done yet, but he could try and cover this line. He can't. Messina's back through, or is he? I don't know anymore, actually.
I was going to say, he hasn't done it, Darragh. He's still there side by side. I think they're still side by side as they go round the bank curve of the final corner. Okay, no, they haven't. They have resolved it, and Wilson is through. But I was just listening and thinking, Darragh, they're still there. They're still there. But here we go. These guys are still here. Kappa and Gravett. Oh. Kappa forcing Gravett a bit deep. Is this going to be door-to-door stuff through the next few corners as well?
It's difficult to say. Not into turn 2, are they going to be side by side, as it is Wilson through on Raider Uhalal. He's up inside the top 6 now after starting 17th in this race. 11 minutes left to run. Gravett needs this move this lap, otherwise it's going to be pretty much impossible to try and catch Daniel Herlock. I mean, if you're Daniel Herlock right now, you're smiling ear to ear. This is a fantastic position to be in. Yes, he's got to defend, but if you told him at the start of this race that he would have 3 cars and 5 seconds between him and his closest championship rival, he'd take that any day of the week, wouldn't he?
You certainly would. The only thing I'll add to that, Darragh, is it is 3 cars, yes, but it's also at the same time it's not. 2 of them are Gravett's teammates, albeit in sister teams, but they are all part of the same umbrella, you could say. So really, it's Kappa that is holding him back from getting to Herlock. Of course, you have got that nice buffer, though, as you mentioned. So he definitely will be smiling, but he's definitely feeling the pressure still because he has got these 2 barreling behind him.
Yeah, they are going to be looking to try and do everything they can to upset Daniel Herlock here, get in the mirrors, force him into a mistake. That could be the difference with less than 10 minutes to go in this race. I mean, the championship couldn't come down to a closer finish, really. Yes, we've got a few cars between Herlock and Gravett, but we are still in the dark as to who's going to win this championship with only 10 minutes to go of what has been, I mean, just shy of 8 hours worth of racing, about 7 hours, I think, worth of racing over the course of the season, and it's going to come down to the final 10 minutes.
I mean, I love that. I mean, when you word it like that, it almost feels like it's an endurance race. And I'm thinking 8 hours, that's not that much. But when you do it in sprint formats, of course, it is a lot, and particularly over differing circuits as well, as these guys still going at it so hard and so fierce into the last 9 minutes of this race, bumper to bumper. There's barely anything separating them. I mean, he needs to do it now. Chris, he needs to get past Darragh. If he can't do it this lap, I think it is all over.
Yeah, I mean, that gap stagnating at about that 4-second mark, and if anything, Herlock's getting away from the likes of Osborne just that little bit more as well. Good to get a good view on board here with Chris Gravitt, just to really see what the driver can see and the differing lines that he's trying to take to make this move work for him, but getting to the inside isn't a possibility. Down into that difficult right-hander, and again into the left-hander. He's sitting behind that Cupra. Nothing that he can do right now to make his way through. And you're just looking and thinking, where else are the chances now for the championship contender Chris Gravitt to make a move on Alessandro Cappa? You know, there's some every single lap, but it just feels like they're not working for him right now.
No, I mean, he does have to push the pass button, so there could be a bit of a battery element to think about in this fight. But yeah, he needs to get this move done down towards turn number 1, or it is over at this point. This, I think, might be the closest he has been, though, as they round the banking of the final corner. He needs to try and duck as close as he can to the pit lane to force Cappa into a tighter line, but they're already side by side. I think he's going to be ahead before the corner into the breaker zone, and he's done it, Darragh. Or has he?
Oh, let's see, on the exit of turn 1, can he get this one consolidated? The answer is absolutely not. Oh, he just about can. Kappa's not going to have the inside line at turn 2, and Gravitt sweeps across the front. He has 7 minutes and 25 seconds, I thought it was going to the wall there, to try and close a 4-second gap on Jordan Osborne, who will jump out of the way. Simon Trebek's surely going to jump out of the way. He has to close on Daniel Herlock and try and overtake. It really feels like mission impossible right now, but there's definitely a possible to it.
Yeah, it certainly is. Let's keep an eye on that gap. It's going to be fascinating to see this over the next 7 minutes. Currently, 4 seconds is the time that Gravitt needs to bring down. He's already half a second into that. So, I mean, Darragh, this could be on. Race on at this point, if you ask me. Gravitt needed to get the move done. He's done that. That's, you know, checkbox number 1, tick it off. Checkbox number 2, let's catch up to my teammates.
Yeah, that's going to be the next difficult mission, but he's gaining. 3.8 seconds is that gap. He's gained about half a second since he made that move. Having said that, he's just lost a couple of tenths as he works his way through. Simon Trebek could do an absolute, you know, heroic drive for Chris Gravitt here. If he can get through on Daniel Herlock, or if he can just put him off for the next couple of laps, force him wide, force him offline, and get him into positions that he doesn't want to be. That's the difficulty, though, because Daniel Herlock has been consistent all race long. He's been overtaken once, and that's by Chris Gravitt.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's no easy feat. You mentioned it earlier. You do have to get up early to beat this man. He has, of course, won the most races this season. I think Vlad Tokarev might be close to tying that, but even then, I think he is still missing one. So Herlock, if you're betting on a race winner, he's probably your best odds. However, it hasn't been all plain sailing for him, but right now he is doing the business. He got the start he needed. He found his way through the traffic very quickly and effectively, got to the front, and he hasn't really looked back since. He's been managing the gap so far, but still pressure is on Darragh. 5.5 minutes, and Gravitt is slowly bringing that gap down.
Yes, but slowly isn't enough, is it really? He needs to be doing it far quicker than he currently is. And the difficulty is for Chris Gravitt is Simon Trebek is just not able to do anything to Daniel Herlock right now, who is looking serenely confident at the front of the field. He got those positions on the opening lap, and that really has set him on his way. That has been the difference, isn't it, really? And it's why he finds himself in such a comfortable position comparatively. Chris Gravitt is in P4, he's gaining, but just not enough. And with 5 minutes to go, when we see Gravitt get towards the start-finish line once again, there are going to be 3 laps to run. Gravitt's going to need a miracle from here.
I mean, that's a second. It's over a second a lap, I'll say, because it's 3 seconds between him and his teammate. I mean, it's going to be tough. There's going to be some doing to it. Well, I think, Darragh, while we've got this little bit of downtime, shall we say, before we do get to the checkered flag, let's mention our sponsors here for the championship and of course the T6 Motorsport. We've got Phoenix Sim Racing and Demon Tweaks. I've tried to think where we can fit them in. I think this is most appropriate. Phoenix Sim Racing, a non-profit organisation set up and designed to help those with disabilities and get them into motorsport, and with their adaptive systems to accommodate all their requirements, they certainly are a fantastic organisation to support. And Demon Tweaks, of course, able to offer the most innovative motorsport, car tuning and motorcycle products available worldwide. Whether it's your first track day or a season pro, they've always got something there for you. So big thanks to those guys.
Yeah, and we really do thank them all for their support for this series, because it means that we can go racing and give these guys some prizes at the end of the championship. We'll detail those prizes on the end of the race, and when we're able to tally up all of the points and bring you a top 5 in the championship. But with 3 minutes 30 to go, there's only 2 more laps left in this championship, and we can start to reflect on what a great season it's been. So many drivers have been able to compete towards the front of the field, and with the reverse grids as well, it's meant that we have had a number of drivers fighting for podiums, for race wins as well. It's just going to come down to this final race for the champion to be crowned, and it looks like the race winner is going to be the champion, which seems fitting, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, it does seem fitting, especially when you've worked so hard for it all season long. It came down to the final race, which we love. It's fantastic that it did happen in that way. And like I said at the beginning, both of them worthy champions of this series. But of course, on the day, Herlock was the all-man. So I won't say he's done it just yet, but at the moment he's done everything he needs to. And 3 minutes to go, he does seem to be pretty comfortable out there at the moment.
He does. He absolutely does. And that is looking like comfortable is going to be his word for the afternoon, or the evening, I should say, as we're just about to tick past 9 p.m. here in the UK. As Daniel Herlock will look to wrap up the championship. Simon Trebek doing everything he can. We can see it here. Just trying to get in behind Daniel Herlock, unsettle the championship leader, but nothing really has been able to be done. And Chris Kravitz has gained maybe a couple of tenths on Daniel Herlock since making the move past Alessandro Cappa, but nothing concrete, nothing substantial. And it looks like Daniel Herlock is going to be the champion here, and well deserved as well. I mean, if it were to finish like this, he ends with a tally of 248 points over the course of 16 races. I mean, that is a monumental achievement when you put into perspective. That is about, 16 points a race? Crazy stat when you think about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, a win is 20, so it is a very impressive number when you put it in those sort of terms. So, yeah, worthy champion mathematically in that sort of sense too, statistically, I should say. But yeah, minute and a half left, so this lap and 1 more to go, and Kravitz is doing everything he can. The gap has still been coming down. It's 2 seconds between him and his teammate Jordan Osborne, but I don't think this is going to be enough. He needs a miracle at this point to have any chance. What he needs is for Herlock to make a mistake, but this man has been so rock solid and steady. I think that is very much going to be hard to find.
It is, and as we get onto the final lap of the championship, the white flag is waving somewhere. We will be able to count down the seconds until our champion is crowned. Simon Trebek getting close, because it's not quite close enough to make a move. Grevic getting closer to Jordan Osborne, but I don't think that'll make a difference. He's about a second behind his teammate, 1.5 seconds or so. We'll see if they swap positions by the end, but it seems like it'll be futile regardless. Callum Wilson's had a great drive in this final race, up to P7. He could even try and get past Vlad Tokarov on the last lap, but he looks like he's under pressure from Carlo Messina for his own position. But some good drives right at the end of the season. Likes of Michael Clough recovering after a difficult race 1 to the top 10 as well. Same can be said for Al Axon, but in the end it looks like for Axon it'll be P6 in the championship, as Wilson's looking to consolidate P5.
I'll tell you what, Carlo Messina, sorry. Callum Wilson, he's battling with Carlo Messina. That is a really impressive drive. He started last and 17th. I say last. He started right at the back, 17th, final row of the grid. He's up to 7th. That's 10 positions gained on just pure pace and sort of tenacity. That is really impressive. That is a strong way to finish a season.
It is, absolutely. And it will mean that his 5th in the championship is safe. I mean, I think he would hope that he would have hoped coming into tonight that he could snatch P4 off of Alessandro Cappa, but that's not how it's transpired. Regardless, top 5 in the championship will still bring him some prizes. Again, we'll detail them in a minute. But first, we've got to salute our champion. It's going to be Daniel Herlock with 2 corners to go. He has driven supremely, particularly in this second race tonight. He looked a little bit shaky when he was overtaken by Chris Kravitz on the final lap of race number 1. But his start to race number 2 is the mark of a champion. He gets into the wall at the final corner, but it's not going to matter. Daniel Herlock wins the final race of the season and is your champion in the T6 Touring Championship. Chris Kravitz is going to finish 4th, and it's going to be so close, but yet so far for him. He's going to finish only, and I say only, 8 points off the championship lead come the end of the season in a harshly contested battle. And it will be Vlad Tokarov to finish 3rd in the championship, and P5 in the final race. It's going to be a bit of a fun finish for Roda Halal in P11 and David Zoes in P12. They drop down from the front of the field in the end, and then we'll see Nick Lowe, Bashti Schrar and Bruno Reno bring up the rest of the points-paying positions in the final race of the season. But for Herlock, perfection in the final race of the year.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So it looked as though he celebrated early, where he scraped the wall around the final corner. Maybe he just took his hands off the wheel. I don't know. Either way, he's a very happy bunny sat in that cockpit, and I know for a fact he'll be celebrating hard tonight, no doubt about it. He will pick up the first place prize, and then Gravett will have to settle for second. But he does still take home a nice prize, Paul. We'll get to that all in a short moment's time, won't we, Darragh?
We will. We're going to look at these results, and then we're going to take a short break before we come back with the official, or at least provisional, results of the championship. But first, let's have a look at these results. It was Daniel Herlock ahead of a trio with Unlimited Esports drivers Simon Trebek, Jordan Osborne and Chris Gravett. And with that win, Herlock is our champion. Vlad Tokarev, P5 in the end after his race win in race 1, ahead of Alessandro Kappa and Callum Wilson. Colin Messina, Alan Axon and Michael Clough round out the top 10 after 15 laps at Zandvoort. And in the final points-paying positions, from 11th down to 15th, they were relatively harshly fought, more harshly fought in race 2 than they were in race 1. And we can tell you that Roda Halal finished in P11, just ahead of David Zoes in 12th with Nick Lowe, Bashti Schrar and Bruno Reno rounding out our points-paying positions. For Emmanuel Bibaloni, no points, just outside in P16 for the final race. Fabi Michelon and Yaroslav Faiz finish outside the points as well. And that is how we run through the championship. Stick around, because in a couple of minutes' time we will confirm the top 5 in the championship and the prizes that go with them. But as we top them up, we're going to take a short break. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes. We're back then to clarify and to finalise the results of what has been a fantastic T6 Touring Championship. Myself, Darragh, Thacker, Ashley Denman alongside us. And Ashley, I think it's fair to say it's been a fantastic season. And only right that we declare Daniel Hurlock was the champion.
I mean, yeah, definitely. After the start he got there in the second part of the racing tonight, yeah, definitely a worthy champion. Like I said, whichever one took it, I think was going to be a worthy champion. We had, I think Hurlock was more outright pace, getting the wins in and got enough points to secure it. But Chris Crivette, of course, missed the consistency, I think, throughout that series. And so whichever way it swung, I would have been happy.
Yeah, and for Daniel Hurlock, he's going to have a nice prize to go with it. £120 for the champion, 75 for P2 for Chris Crivette, and for Vlad Tokarev in P3, he picks up £50 as well. £35 for P4 go to Alessandro Cappa, and a nice £20 note for P5 and Callum Wilson come the end of the season. But there was also a team's prize to be won. £50 it was for the team prize, and in the end that's gone to Alan Axon and Chris Crivette for the Unlimited Esports Hyundai team, 385 points. A good 57 or so ahead of the Powered by Loadout Racing duo with Daniel Hurlock and Mitchell. So, great season for the Unlimited Esports team, even if they haven't got that overall title. But actually, I think there's definitely positives to take, isn't there?
There's positives up and down the field. I mean, you can look at some standout performances today for those that weren't quite at the sharp end of things for the season. I can think of Bibaloni in race number 1, Wilson in race number 2 as well. Both of them climbing very high up the order from their starting blocks and finishing the season out strongly. But I think all of the drivers out there have had at least a couple of highs. They've had a couple of lows as well, and that is part and parcel of racing. But I hope to see the majority of them back for when we do return, whenever that will be. Not too sure just yet. But I can't wait to get back to touring cars again, because this series is absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant to cover. It's fantastic to watch, and I hope everyone is excited as I am when it does eventually return. But we do have one more event to finish off this, shall we say it, spring calendar, Darragh.
Yes. A spring calendar that has really delivered, isn't it? All the way through the season, and has given us such a fantastic championship right to the end. I mean, Ashley, before we go, I've got to ask you, have you got a highlight that you can call back to of the championship?
I mean, I can, in the top of my head, I can think of Chris Crivette on 2 wheels at Mount Panorama. It just immediately to the top, but that is because I was screaming at the screen. I can also remember back to Alessandro Cappa in Monza as well. He took a really good victory there, dominant victory as well for him. So that was a strong evening for Alessandro. And but again, I think each race had its highs and lows, and there was definitely a few stories around them. And I just look forward to it to return. I don't want it to end.
I think I have to back you on that call of moment of the season. But that is where we will have to leave the thoughts going into what could be our following season. My thanks from myself, Darragh Thacker, and Ashley Denman to all of you at home who have watched along this season and have kept up with the championship. But the biggest thanks, of course, have to go to Rich Weatherall and the sponsors who make this series possible. Rich, of course, does all of the organisation, he does the broadcast, and he does a great job at absolutely everything to do with this series. So we thanks to them, and we thanks to Phoenix Sim Racing and to Demon Tweaks, who, with their support, have really given us the chance to go racing this season. But for now, we will leave you from the T6 Touring Championship. It's been a great season, and we might see you soon, at least for the Porsche 992s.